So, welcome to Walford United WFC.
Hey guys, Natalie here. I'm back again. I'm here with Nick from the Wolves Women podcast, and it's really good to have you on, Nick. We're going to learn today about the National League. I think a lot of us know about the WSL Championship, but then obviously when you start going into 3, 4, 5, and 6, it starts to get a bit different and divides into north, south, central, and that kind of thing. So I'm getting Nick here as an expert and a Wolves fan. Wolves are a big side. Hopefully they'll see them up there soon. But Nick, fingers crossed. Tell us about yourself. How'd you get into women's football? And
cheers, Natalie. Well, thank you very much for the invite onto the show. And obviously, Wolves Women podcast. Do find us all out there on Twitter, etc. I've been following women's football on and off now for 10 plus years. I remember seeing the Lionesses at Swindon versus Denmark back sort of over 10 years ago. Now, obviously, Wolves fan. I don't care, if they put on a gold and black shirt and play for the team, then that I support them. So been always followed Wolves women, and I've got a daughter now who's into football, so I want her to enjoy it. And it's role models, isn't it? At the end of the day, you look at the players. Look at some of the players we've got who are absolute legends at the club. Sort of like Savannah Price, Perks, club captain, who's sort of done it from when it was, sort of before it was all big. I say big, what it is now, and she's still there plugging away. Senior teacher at a school in West Midlands, and playing for her club. And she's a season ticket holder, and so I think that's it gives real good sort of role model, not just for girls but for boys as well. So take both my son and my daughter to watch them, and they enjoy seeing football. So in that sense, it's great. And the benefit is, of course, as you see even in WSL, is the fact that the players interact. The players love meeting the fans, and the Wolves women players are great with stopping and doing the autographs and things like that, and they really appreciate the support, and the kids really appreciate saying hello. And so I think that's sort of my background. Obviously, sort of start this season, set up the podcast with some other Wolves fans, and so all got different backgrounds as well. So therefore, it wasn't just sort of the same group of people talking. So they got Jess, who obviously plays football, female. Got Sai, who's a ref. Tom, who does some media stuff for other people. So you get bit of different background, different sort of views as well. So it's really good just to have that bit of a chat and sort of discuss where we're going. And it's helped raise the profile of the club indirectly about what's going on, I think, because we are there. We've been able to speak to Wolves legends. We had last pod, we had Anne Johnson on, Fries, who was playing for Wolves when Wolves were a top flight team, because not many Wolves fans will know that Wolves women were a top flight team back in sort of 10 plus years ago. And so therefore it's all that a bit of education. And next week the club are doing the official launch of the Wolves shirt. So basically it's the same shirt as the men's have got, but with a different sponsor. But they're doing a formal launch of it in the club mega store. Meet the manager, meet the players, get pictures signed, and that's all being done by the club itself. So there's a real growth around it. Obviously it helps that Maka and the team are doing it on the pitch. We're top of the league. Got to enjoy that while we're there, and it's something to be proud of. So I think that's the key, really. It's pushing forward. So that's sort of a bit about sort of where we are as a podcast and a team as well.
Yeah, you talk about being top of the league. Talk to us, because see us as sort of people who just come in Championship. That's where we came in, and we just know there was 2 up at that time, but now we know it's 1 up and 1 down from the Championship. But Wolves are in Tier 3.
Yeah,
I'm right in saying Tier 3 is divided into North and South.
So Tier 3 is you have the Northern Premier and the Southern Premier. At the minute, there are 13 teams in the Northern Premier, 14 teams in the Southern Premier. The winners of the leagues, so at the minute, if we stop the league now, it'll be Wolves and Ipswich, would not get promoted into the Championship. we would have to go into a playoff, and the winner of that game, assuming we meet all the other criteria as well, pitches, would then get promoted to the championship. There's no guarantee, therefore, promotion. Which, I mean, we've already, as a team on the podcast, already had a rant about that because it's just wrong that in theory, Ipswich have won every game they've played. Going real great guns in there, as the Southampton. They could play us or Fylde or somebody else who have lost or dropped points through the season and lose one game. Or even if it's over two-legged, they could still lose that one fixture and not get promoted, having won every game all season. And it's just bonkers. It's bonkers. But and part of that is part of the COVID is repercussions, but a large part of that I think is still that sort of step up from Championship from the FA, the Women's National League into the Championship, and there is still that them and us elements almost there. I feel, it's certainly when you're seeing the teams that are starting to go professional in the Championship, and when we've been really lucky in a way, we've picked up three really talented players from Coventry United, because Coventry have obviously gone professional this term. Beth Merrick, Amber Hughes, and Maz as well have all dropped down from the Championship to play for Wolves because we're still not professional. And that's so there's that sort of benefit there, but that's also because it's going semi-professional that it's got to have all the financial in there.
No, and last year the Championship that didn't happen. Both Watford and Sunderland came up, and I know that was a thing that was talked about, and we talked about Rich Lafferty has been on my podcast talking about the Championship, and he's sort of saying Sheffield are looking towards the top and they want to be two positions for the WSL. Let's start to expand it. I think it all starts at the bottom, doesn't it?
It does.
I think you can't allow two to go up if you're not going to have two coming up, kind of.
Well, this is the thing. We, like Watford and Sunderland, we benefited from the decisions at the end of last season to promote teams, because of everything that went on. Obviously, the benefit of last season, or benefit for Watford and Sunderland, was there were 2 slots available in the Championship, because it was only, if I remember right, it was 10 teams last season. So if you could just move 2 teams up easily. This time round, there isn't been the spaces, or there wouldn't be the spaces. But I think that then you've also got the issue of sort of further down. The last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, realistically, with Wolves in the 4th tier, so the Midlands League, we were dominating teams. It would have some really good dust-ups with Lincoln and people like that, some really good close games with it. But in general, we're winning games 5+0 at times, and it's not good for anybody. That it's not good for, and there was only one promotion slot. So you sort of Wolves are dominating the league. Everyone else is fighting for what? Not being bottom. That's realistic, and that I don't know. Obviously, there's pride, etc., of winning as many games. But realistically, whilst Wolves were in that league, there was only going to be one team dominating it, and that's not good for football, and not good for women's football, which is trying to grow. So I think we're now at that point where the WSL needs to expand, the Championship needs to expand, the Northern and Southern Premier needs to expand, and the Tier 4 needs to expand. Below Tier 4, and certainly below Tier 5, how much capacity there are within the teams, within financially and number of teams to operate more teams in those leagues, not sure. But certainly Tiers 4 upwards, you could easily expand those tiers into 14 tiers and have the capacity, therefore, to make them competitive. And it makes it more competitive for teams.
Yeah. Talking to Tier 4, and I know they benefited from coming up, like how you guys did. You said about the Midlands League, so I know that FC United, local, only 20 minutes down the road from me, they've come up into the Northern Tier 4. Yeah. So am I right in thinking there's a Northern, there's a Midlands, there's a Southern in Tier 4?
Northern and Midlands, they feed up into the Northern Premier. And it's North and Midlands feed into the Northern Premier, and then you have South East and South West feed into Southern Premier. So it splits, and Southern. So I live in Cambridgeshire. So Peterborough at the north of Cambridgeshire, that feeds into. They play in the Midlands now, and sort of 20 minutes, 30 minutes down the road from there, St Ives, or even south of Cambridge City and Cambridge United, they both play in the Tier 4 southeast, and feeding, and St Ives, who are a bit between both, playing Tier 5, leading up on the eastern side of things. So it's very, that cut is very sort of marginal where that line lies. But yeah, so it's.
Yeah, are we right in thinking as well then, between Tier 4 and the Midlands and the North that go into the third, are we right in thinking there's going to be one spot for them and they're going to have to fight it out?
Yes, no, there'll be two. So
they will go up automatically.
Yeah, so they'll go up. So this season, so if you ignore this season, but normally it'll be 2 up, 2 down from the Northern, 1 up from each of the region, Midlands and Central, and then 1 up between Northern and Southern into the Championship. Yeah. This season, part and parcel of balancing out the books, so basically from the COVID promotions, is there were going to be 3 relegated out of the Northern Premier and 4 relegated out of the Southern Premier. So we're going to bring us back up down to 12 teams, rather than take, we're playing week in, week out. We've got games. It's brilliant. It's a jam-packed season. It's great. So once you get County Cup, Women's National, the League Cup, so the equivalent of the County Cup, but for the National League. So County, National League, and then the FA Cup. There's 3 cup competitions there and certainly likes of Wolves, Fylde, Southampton, Ipswich are going for both the league and the county cups, and then we'll want a good run in the FA Cup. It gives a great season having sort of 14 teams to play. It's brilliant, or 13 other teams to play. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, did they give any rationale, the FA, as to why they're doing that? Well, they never really do.
No, and it's that the Women's National League still seems to be a bit of an arm's length body from the main FA, so it's almost, sort of run by a group of volunteers who are obviously giving a lot of their time to do that, and therefore do appreciate that, but it does sort of, it'll come out. There you go. The announcement's made. That's it, and there's no whereabouts. It's the same with the whole last season, what happened last season. Everyone knew at the end of sort of the start of last season, there was a real risk COVID could impact, and there was no decisions about the plan. What were the plans when people started? Whereas you flip, and then of course we got to that point where, right, the FA Cup's back on. You've got a week to prepare for a game for us against Forest, so tier above us, crack on. Oh, that means they must be trying to get the league back on. Oh no, actually, that league's canned. Teams voted against it, and I think part of that was because there were teams there who knew they were never going to get promoted. It didn't matter what happened. So if they could have played on, put people at risk from injuries, from COVID, whatever else, and actually just finish mid-table. And it's like, what's the point? And I get that to an extent, but that decision shouldn't be made at that point. That decision should have been made start the season. This is what the rules are going to be. This is how we're going to settle it. Different cut-off points. If we get 3/4 of the way through, that's it. It's done. If we're halfway through, it's points per game. If it's quarter through, we just null and void or whatever. But they didn't. It came lastminute.com again.
Yeah, it seems a bit strange that the clubs don't have it sort of in their fate and they can't decide. I mean, we even see with the WSL that sort of decisions are made and it's by like a board and it's not everyone on the board, and it doesn't make sense. And I know I think I saw you actually posting about Starbridge or not wanting to play Starbridge. I'm guessing that's a team that you've known for a while.
We've played Starbridge. Big shout out to the Starbridge girls, because the Glass girls are great and they're really good competitive games as well. Even though they're a couple of tiers down, they're really good competitive games. But we must have played Starbridge in the last couple of seasons in either the Cup, the County FA Cup, or the County Cup a couple of times. It's one of those. You're playing the same team, and because at where we are in the FA Cup and things like that, it's regionalised still. So you're not. It would be great to be able to play sort of Ipswich at this round in the Cup or something like that. Someone different, but no, it's regionalised. So we're always playing the same pool of teams, and you sort of sit there going, oh, right. So it's not Starbridge, please, not Starbridge, please, not because they don't want to play us because they want to try and progress further in the Cup because they know, blowing our own trumpet, we are a good team. We're set up well. We're well organised. We should beat Starbridge. We don't want to play Starbridge because they're a good setup and they will give us a good game, and therefore it's a tough game for us, and therefore it takes time out of our calendar for, where we could be rotating players, resting first teamers. No, we know we've got to go in with it. And actually, it's the same teams, and we're seeing the same players, and even if there's a few changes of players, it's the same personnel. It's not like So I think that's the other flip. So because of the regionalisation, you're always playing the same teams. I mean, I joke I'd love us to get Peterborough or one of the Cambridge teams for me because it's so easy. It's 20 minutes up the road from me, whichever or down the road, whichever way. But we ain't going to get that until further on into the cup competition as the other teams drop out, and then it makes it easier because we'll get Sporting Calcer in the next round of the FA Cup, and then it's or Starbridge or whoever it's all modged in together. And
I know someone who plays for Sporting Calcer. I know she's the defender, Megan, friend of the show. But
got them in the FA Cup.
Oh, there you go. 8 teams in the tier 5, and then I guess they feed up into those 4 leagues, and then those 4 feed up into the 2, and then the 2 into the 1. So it is a real pyramid. It's just about pyramid. Making it grow, making it bigger, making it stronger, and expanding the WSL will then lead to expansion in the Championship, will lead to expansion down. So do you think that's the way you're going to see it, Nick? They'll have to say it'll come from the top to the bottom, maybe. So it'll be, whereas maybe it should be the bottom up, if you get what I mean.
I do get what you mean. I think it'd be a mixture of both. I mean, I think if you were to say, right, the FA Women's National League will go to expand, increase their numbers of promotions internally to 2 up from each of the leagues, and sort of and expand the leagues, sort of the Northern 14 teams and etc. So you've got a bit more of a churn of teams and more competition. It'll make the Midlands League, for example, much more competitive if they had 2 teams going up, because you had first and second would go up rather than just first. And I think that would demonstrate that. I think what will drive the change will be as teams become more professional. And realistically, I think Burnley are wanting to go professional. I know that. Southampton and Ipswich are obviously working towards that as well. So I think they're not going to be happy sitting with professional setups in the 3rd tier. They're going to want the Championship to expand. They're going to want, therefore, the WSL to expand. Whether the WSL expands before the end of this current TV contract, I don't know. I could see them basically sitting tight until the end of the contract, so basically sort of another 2. But then at the end of that, basically there's a period there at the end of that point where we actually say, right, it's going to go up to 14, new TV deal, 14 teams. We'll bring the Championship on to, expanded highlights package of the Championship, which also goes to 14 teams. More promotions from the Northern Premier. That I could see as the logical way forward. Noting they missed the opportunity when they had with COVID, that sort of end of that first season of COVID, when actually they could have said, well, rather than relegate Liverpool, we're going to expand it now, start fresh. That was the ideal opportunity. Yeah. That was the perfect opportunity.
I agree with you, Nick. I think it's only going to be at the end of the TV deal now, because I think they've thought about how many slots they can show on telly, this and that, how many people are watching. We know with the derby, Manchester derby, there's 1 million people watching, so let's increase that. Once that increases, then we'll make more slots available so we can show more WSL. Right, we need more teams, etc., etc. And that's the way it's going to work. It's going to work like that, rather than the need is there now.
I think the TV companies will demand more teams, because at the end of the day, that gives them more games. And realistically, to an extent, for those of us who follow, we all know that basically it's Arsenal and Chelsea going to realistically win the league. They've got it now. It's between the 2 of them. But therefore, for a neutral, it's just entertaining football. But for the TV companies, they're going to want that competition to keep going. They don't want Arsenal and Chelsea running away with the league already sewn up with the league now. They want Arsenal and Chelsea and City and United and Spurs still battling out at Christmas. And then maybe fine, Arsenal and Chelsea start to pull away as their class starts to show. But they don't want it showing up after 3 games in that we already know that City have dropped because they've dropped too many points, that United and Spurs aren't going to make it through to the end of the season. That's not good for them in the long run. So they'll want the additional teams because they'll want the more competition. Because more teams you have, there's more competition, and that'll bring it in.
And it's a shame that the TV will dictate it for me, because I think we need development. We need our leagues to improve. You know, the players need it, the fans want it, but it's the TV that will decide when it happens.
Well, TV's going to pay for it realistically, and that's the key. That's the key. TV will pay for the expansion. And I agree. It's sad that that money's going to sort of dictate, because it's heads back the way sort of the men's Premier League and money dictates. But I think at this moment in time, it's the commercial interests that are going to push it, and that's going to want to push the clubs. At the end of the day, there's a reason why Birmingham have gone to St Andrews. Realistically, let's be honest, it's because the TV money's paying for it. There's a reason why they're going to put a bit more money into it, because the TV money is there to keep. They need to stay in the WSL. I mean, if Birmingham get relegated from the WSL, there's going to be real issues there for them. And that's a real old club of women's football. It shouldn't be like that, but that's what's driving it. And that's the key. Money will talk. Certainly at this point, once it becomes more commercially viable, you'll see more teams like Burnley, like Southampton, Ipswich putting the money up front. And therefore, but then what will that mean? It will mean that teams like Coventry United, Lewis, Durham will struggle because they won't have that commercial backing, the background behind them to support them.
Yeah, the time for Durham really is now, I think, to go up. But in terms, you've named a few teams there: Burnley, Southampton, Ipswich have been doing. I know with their young team that sort of feeds into it, and it works both ways. I know Man United women under 21 teams, we always played the Ipswich teams and those girls, and it goes vice versa. We didn't mention your own team, Nick. So I know Wolves are up there with your Burnleys, with your Southamptons, with your whoever else you said. What's going on with Wolves? Will we see, Wolves? You said you're doing a joint thing. Will we see Wolves sort of chairman people back it more, and you go professional? What do you think?
I mean, so let's, got to give the club its credit where it's due. So last season we streamed the FA Cup games, and they were a real big success. The fans got behind them. I know there were fans of other clubs watching our streams as well because they were enjoying the games. And I know that Jeff Shee, the Wolves chairman, attends the games. So he went to see Wolves versus Wem pre-pandemic last season. So I don't know how well sort of rural Shropshire, but Wem is backwater in the backwater. Love it to bits, that part of the world, but it is not the sort of place you would expect a Chinese national from a multi-billion pound company to rock up on a Sunday for his Sunday afternoon. But he was there cheering on because it was Wolves. When we were in the FA Cup, he was there by the end of that game against Forest, certainly the Forest game. He was acting as he was trying to get the ball back into play as quickly as possible because he was enjoying the football. He was cheering on the team. So as a team, as a background staff, they are behind the club. Putting my sort of not diplomatic hat on. Could they do more? Yes, they could. I'll be honest. But we're making big steps forward. The fact that we've got the shirt launch is impressive. The big things that Wolves have already done is, the girls don't pay to play because at this level of football, a lot of girls will pay to play football. Still, Wolves don't, and that's part of what we could track them. The other things that could track them is they train now from sort of kids football right up to the first team at Compton Park, the men's or the training ground. It is the training ground. So therefore, the other night it was absolutely teeming it down. They were inside in the dome, training indoors, not having to get absolutely soaking wet through training. So those very simple things, they're there providing training facilities, providing the support. So big step forward. Will we go professional? I don't think we're there just yet. And I think there's a couple of things there. One, I don't think the club is quite ready for it. We're making big steps forward. That's the aim we're going to aim for, but I don't think commercially we're quite ready for it. But also, I think they're looking at the players we've got. We've got a lot of players there who have got other jobs, who therefore would, if we went professional, would have to leave, and therefore they're seeing what's happening up at Coventry United, who have gone all professional and are struggling. And part of that is because the team's not gelled. It's got to be. So what I could see us doing is sort of following the Ipswich, sort of Burnley, sort of Southampton model of starting to sign players up on professional contracts, get them in. Maybe it's partly to do coaching for the kids, sort of the foundation work, and then doing the training as well. But they're paid to play for Wolves, and then as we progress, if we get into the Championship, etc., then and become established, then that'll be we move over to a more professional module. It's basically go semi-pro first. More gradual, but the fan base is there. I mean, we've got us and Ipswich have a regular competition about who's got the highest attendance at the weekend. Basically, Ipswich beat us by about 40 fans last week on Sunday, but we had 300, and we're the second best and clear second best. We have over 348 fans. They had 390 thereabouts. So we're competing with each other for fan bases as well. So we're going places. It's just how quickly we'll get there.
Yeah, I see you in Ipswich, and I see the Ipswich, the tractor girls. They're doing their bit. They're doing buses down or buses to watch the game, which is really good.
They're down at Plymouth. I mean, what's really good for Ipswich, and a big shout out to Ipswich on this one, is they got the men have got Plymouth away on the Saturday, and the women have got Plymouth away on the Sunday. So they're doing a big, and by the sounds of it, from what I can see, is it's almost the whole club are going down for the weekend. Ipswich taking over Plymouth for a weekend. I mean that's just impressive. And if I don't know if you've made it down to the Ipswich ground at all. It's well worth. Really nice little settle down there, down at Felixstowe. They've got really warm welcome there. So I would, as I said, big shout. We had a pre-season friendly there just back end of just before the season started. Really good little good settle down there, and a really good match, and really two well balanced, sort of really close game. And finished 1-1. They equalised with the last kick of the game, so it was proper good game.
So Nick, you've sort of mentioned, I'm guessing Burnley are in your division, is that correct?
So it's Fylde, Derby County, Huddersfield, Burnley, Forest. Them lot down the road are playing Tesco carrier bags. We don't talk about them. Bar when we beat them, obviously, in the derby. That's always good fun. But yeah, so those are the big teams.
Yeah, but Wolves are running away with it pretty much.
4 points clear. We've played a game in hand. We've played a game more than Fylde and Derby, but we beat Derby at theirs. We drew Fylde at ours. I'm trying to remember who Fylde had the young City goalkeeper in goal that day.
Kira thingy, she's just fractured her elbow. Unfortunately, she's it sounds like she's out for a large part of the season, so that's unlucky for them.
Well, yeah, because she was playing absolute blinded before she went back to City. She played absolute blinded for Fylde in that game, and would have kept and pulled off a couple of proper world class saves. It was what. So I think Fylde, we're challenging them. We're gonna. I mean, we played Fylde a couple of seasons back in the cup, beat them once. They beat us once. So it's good. It's a good competitive division. Huddersfield, Forest.
Huddersfield are good. Huddersfield,
yeah.
They were lucky not to go up, really. Yeah.
All down to cash. They said they couldn't afford to go up into the Championship, and I don't think they're as formally linked with the men's club as others might be.
No, I know that when they got to when they recently got quite far, I think it was just before COVID, and they got quite far in the FA Cup, and I know that's why then a lot of people talk about the FA Cup, because apparently the money that they made from getting all the way to playing West Ham in like the fourth round, it didn't even cover it. So we know in the women's game more needs to go into it, more money, and that's not just from clubs, that's from hires, making it worthwhile competing.
The prize money for the FA Cup is absolutely shocking. Personally, I was just really looking at it. Something we're probably going to try and touch on in the next pod when we do it, because it's something like winners of the first round for the women get £850. So, and for the men, the first round winners get 22,629. Got it up in front of me. So yeah, if we beat Calcer, we'll get 850 quid. If Colchester beat Sudbury, they'll get 22,629.
It's not even like probably your coaches would cost more. You know what I mean? It's not even worth it.
And this is why they do. Yeah. It's still regionalised, which I get. But even so, it's just sort of like
still not worth it, is it? Yeah.
And when you think you could easily take a couple of £1 million out of the men's top end, sort of keep the lower sort of round, sort of everything below quarterfinal stays the same, but quarterfinal upwards, just skip half that quite easily and put all that money, prize money, into the women's pot. You do huge change to the game.
100%. I just want to touch on the Southern because obviously. We figured out like this is how it works up. So it's looking like it could be Wolves. Obviously, I know that was what you're fingers crossed for you guys. But you said Southampton, Ipswich. You said Ipswich and Southampton they're level. I was going to have Stuart on, who runs since 71. He's got his little one. He's putting her to bed. But he always comes on the show and bigs up Southampton and says what greatness they're doing. I mean, I think we know about Ipswich because, like I said, Man United played them, the under-21s, and they're great. But Southampton, Ipswich, who do you see winning that league? And then how do you think if Wolves do win? How do you think?
Well, I mean, I've not seen Southampton play, so I can't comment too much on them. But I mean, obviously they've got a good setup there. I've picked up the same as yourself with how Southampton are doing things down there. It's going to be. I mean, I only see it realistically being a competition between Ipswich and Southampton. And I think if you look at that league, I mean, Southampton played a couple of games less, than Ipswich. But if you assume they keep their record going, they're well clear of Ipswich and Southampton. Are well clear of everyone in that league. I would like Ipswich because I think I know them because it would be really useful test for us to see how we've progressed as well over the season, having played in that pre-season. Playing Southampton will be a fresh challenge, but I think there's going to be a lot more investment in Southampton. I mean, I would love to see Wolves get promoted, don't get me wrong, but I think with the investment that Southampton have put into the club and are intending to put into the club, I could see Southampton just still pushing ahead of both Ipswich and Wolves when it comes to when crunch comes to it. But I don't know whether it's been published, whether it's going to be a two-legged affair or a one-off decider. So it might, if it's a one-off game, then who knows? It comes down to who's willing to battle through and take it. I mean, I think over the last couple of games we've had some really tough games, not necessarily against tough opponents. I mean, the last one was against Burnley, but what we've demonstrated is as a team we'll fight to the end and keep going. So I wouldn't write us off. And even last season when we played Blackburn, yes, they beat us and beat us comfortably. But we weren't down and out. We kept going. We wanted to try and get back into that game. So I think as a team, we wouldn't be scared of that opposition. If we got Ipswich or Southampton, we'd be up for it. And we'd give everything we had. And I think we would end up taking quite a few, hopefully, COVID permitting, fans will be allowed in. But I think would take a good turnout as well, which therefore which benefit if it's Ipswich is therefore good attendance as well, neutral venue, good sets of fans. Yeah, it would be a lot of banter, a lot of noise as well, and be a really good advert for the game because the fans will be there making the noise. But it's going to be a tough one to call that.
I mean, Nick, you say you're not ready for being professional either, potentially Wolves. But do you think if they went into the Championship, they would sort of have to, or there'd be that push to go higher professional? Because I think we're seeing a bit. Well, Sunderland are doing really well, and I know John, if he comes on in the comments, he'll say, but Watford maybe aren't doing as well, So it's one of them.
I think certainly when I was talking to some of the Watford fans at the end of last season, they lost quite a few. They lost a couple of players at the end of last season for injury and things like that. They moved on, so I think their team wasn't the team that was getting them, heading them up that way, which is why they're now struggling this season. I think we'll go semi-professional. I think we've got a couple of youngsters who would sign up on professional contracts, and there'll be a couple of players who will look at whether the terms we could offer them would be sufficient to keep them, take them away from their day jobs, which will therefore form a nucleus of a team which you can start to build around. And we've got certain players who will be coming towards the tail end of their career, who therefore might well say, well, actually, you know what? I've had that promotion. I'm going to step away now. I might well still play on, but I'll drop down the road to Kidderminster Harriers, do a couple more seasons there at a much lower level, where the commitment isn't as high, and carry on. But that's it for me for Wolves. So therefore, you could start to fill in a couple of those slots with signing in players. But it's also our management team. It's not just about the players. I mean, we've got an excellent management team. Maka as the manager, plus all the sort of backroom staff, and I'm not going to try and name them all because they're all really good team. It's a proper team there, but a lot of them are service personnel. They're all from a lot of them work out of Cosford, RAF Cosford. A lot of them are Maka's RAF. He's involved in the UK Armed Forces football team as well. So the next question is, if we go professional or if we get promoted, are we going to be able to get Maka to come across and leave the RAF to come and take it? Because whatever happens, Maka deserves that season in the Championship fully, and it would be unfair on him if we'd say, well, actually, we're going professional. Do you want it? No, well, bye. And that's not how we should be treating him. We should be right. You've got this season, and we can then have the conversation afterwards about it. And it might well be a case of actually just taking that step up, seeing what it's like, taking a step down, regrouping, and then going again with a bit more measured understanding of what it's like and actually what's needed.
No, 100%. Just a quick one that I want to ask for myself before I wrap up. How many times then, you're a tier 3 team, and you can tell me about tier 4 as well, or tier 5 if you know, how many times do each teams train? Because I know with the championships that he says a lot of them are full-time, or they'll at least train like three plus times a week. What about Wolves, tier 3?
So Wolves in general do Tuesday night, Thursday night, and then there's quite often a gym session on a Friday night. But the Tuesday, Thursday sort of battle rhythm is pretty standard within teams. It's almost one of those, because then midweek games because there are occasionally midweek games in this tier. It is on a Wednesday night usually. Might get shifted because of what else is going on in the surrounds. Sort of infrastructure, police, etc., etc. The usual. But so it's usually Tuesday, Thursday train. Maybe, as I said, Wolves do a gym session. I think it's on a Friday night, and then play on a Sunday. And it's that's the battle rhythm, which is not too bad a battle rhythm, I'd say. With but you can build your life around it. But then, of course, you then chuck in the Wednesday nights. Away the Wednesday night games will always be local. So we've played Stoke on a Wednesday night. I'm trying to think else. We played the Black Country Derby was on a Wednesday night, which is a shame in a way because it was so much better if it was a Sunday afternoon where you could get everyone down. But they're on the Wednesday night because it's what's the local games for you basically. They'll force those, put those in. I think those are the only two we've got this season that are on a Wednesday night. We always used to play Sporting Castle on a Wednesday night. It's one of those.
Increased then, Nick? Is that increased from when you were before COVID? Tier 4, or is that what you've always done?
No, that's the sort of standard sort of. Yeah, that's. I mean, if anything, it's the quality of the training facilities that's improved. I mean, we've got, as I said, you talk to some of the older pros, and they were older pros, the team, the players who've been there a while, and they were playing, sort of at sixth form school, at high school facilities, and on AstroTurf, and that be it. Now, as I said, it's down at Compton. It's utilising the facilities there. It's making in the dome, all those sorts of facilities that you just can't beat, and therefore that gives you that sort of ability to also train. I mean, this is the other issue: is some teams actually drop down during the winter to one training session a week because of the state of the pitches or where they train. Use of the floodlights, etc. Because during the summer and spring, sort of those cusps they can train on the pitch, and therefore it doesn't matter. Whereas once they get into the winter, they've got to train somewhere else. Whereas floodlights, cost, etc. So whereas Wolves, we've got those facilities that we can train all year round. and that's great.
Sounds like it's going great for Wolves this season. Hope it continues for you, Nick. I want to thank you for coming on. You're more than welcome back on again when we have more discussions, maybe after Christmas break, and we'll see where we're up to deeper into the season, and we'll try and get Stu on as well. We'll try and get some other people on just to see how it's going to basically set up, because it's all about this, tiers growing. Grows the game, and even from WSL down and 4 or 5 up.
We'll start. It will, as the game grows, there'll be more people will be starting to head to these. And as I said, we're averaging about 300 thereabouts fans every week or every home league game. And the only reason we had less than 300 at a league game recently was because some team that play in red turned up on a Sunday afternoon instead of being sensible and coming around on a normal time, so clashing with the women's team. So a lot of fans were having to sort of split and do things. So and then they stole the 3 points as well after being battered. I wouldn't know who that were.
I don't know either. We don't talk about that team anyway. We talk about the other ones. But listen, it's all good. It's all fun. I love it. Like I said, I hope Wolves do well because, it's good to see, they're getting, they don't have to pay. That progression is there. And even if I know people don't like, it might be all Premier League teams, but, money's there. And if these teams are going to give money to the women equally, in sort of facilities, then it's good for me.
Well, the thing is, let's be honest. If we go to, I don't know, one of the smaller teams locally, if we take let's say we go down to Sporting Calcer and we take 100 odd people down there, that's 100 odd fans spending money putting money in Sporting Calcer, and that's it's not just the admission fees, it's the drinks, etc., etc., and also because Wolves women are playing at AFC Wolveronians ground. We're putting money into AFC Wolveronians kitty as well, so we're helping build the wider game as well. It's not just about all going into Wolves' back pocket. So
yeah, no, 100%. But Nick, you're welcome back on. Do you want to share your socials? I know it's Wolves Women Podcast, so definitely find them on Twitter. I follow them. Follow Nick.
Yeah.
So
thanks a lot for having me on, Natalie. More than happy to come on and chat. And as I said, give us, share, have those discussions about sort of how the National League's developing, etc. But we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at Wolves Women Pods. So give us a shout, give us a follow, and up the Wolves.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, guys, for watching. Like, share, subscribe as well to All for United, and we'll be back with you tomorrow. More content. See you soon, guys.